Konnichiwa everybody, and welcome to another top 5 board gaming video. Today's topic is all about anime and manga. Like many IPs, these have gone through the ringer as far as being made into video games, board games, and all sorts of other different things with limited or sometimes great success. And essentially I wanted to go over some of my personal favorites. I am an anime fan, but I'm not a huge hardcore anime fan. I do like several specific ones, and there are some games that I have found captured the theme and the concepts of the animes and mangas really well. In addition, there's a few games I like that are in the style of Japanese animation and manga as well, and so that's kind of what I use to build my personal list. That said, I would love to hear what you guys have to say. What are your personal favorites of this topic and why? Let me know anything and everything in the comments below, but with that, we are getting started with my number 5. At number 5, I've got the Attack on Titan deck builder game. As many of you probably know, I am not the biggest fan of deck builders, but Attack on Titan is a really great IP to put into this context because you have this idea of a very large-scale creature monster boss, effectively, coming at and attacking all of the different players. And so it acts very nicely as a cooperative effort in order to defeat the bad guy, very similar to things like Legendary as well as the DC deck builder game. But that said, because I'm not as big of a fan of the style, it's a little bit lower on my list, but it's still very well done. Attack on Titan deck builder, my number 5. At number 4, I've got Naruto Shippuden, the board game. Now, call me basic, but this is one of my favorite anime shows to watch. I really do enjoy it, and I find that the board game really does capture the sort of feeling and threat that the Atatsuki particularly pose in the anime series, with the idea being that the bad guys start in random villages all throughout, and the players are playing cooperatively as the named characters that we all know and love, with particular abilities and capabilities and movement strategies and all this kind of stuff, with the idea being that you're trying to track down each of the individual bad guy members before they reach the Hidden Leaf Village. So it captures sort of the spirit of the anime really well, but not necessarily the story very well, and so that's why it's a bit lower on the list, but I do still enjoy it. I love seeing some of my favorite characters in the board game. Naruto Shippuden, my number 4. At number 3, I've got Cowboy Bebop Space Serenade. This is a game I talked about a while ago as one I was really excited about, and I have to say it's pretty awesome. It is a deck building game where the idea is that you are competing against one another to try to get the most reputation because you're all bounty hunters. So you're trying to track down criminals, you're getting specific cards and abilities and items that help you out specifically, and each of the individual characters has their own starter deck based off of whatever their particular shtick is in the anime and manga. So I think it's a great adaptation. I think it captures the theme and the concept and relationship amongst the characters in the show and the books very well. It's a great game. It's very well done. Cowboy Bebop Space Serenade, my number 3. At number 2, I've got the Death Note investigation card game. This is something where you have the mechanic and the theme of the anime fitting so well together, where this is a social deduction game. Somebody is using the Death Note to kill off the other players, and you have to try and figure out who. It's relatively similar to things like One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and it fits so perfectly. I absolutely adore it. It's really nice because you don't have a huge amount of thematic depth, but you do obviously have the flair of the Death Note and this type of thing, but the fact is that Death Note as an anime and manga is not a huge thing, so you wouldn't expect to see a tremendous amount of depth in the game, and therefore it overall is just wonderfully well done, and I absolutely love it. Death Note, the card game, my number 2. At number 1, I've got Millennium Blades, a game that is really not based off of a specific anime or a manga, but rather the idea of gaming as a whole. So essentially I view this kind of like the anime that I've talked about before about board gaming, where Millennium Blades is a board game where you play a character who is playing a collectible card game. So the idea is that you're trying to get the newest released packs, you're trying to get those collectible editions, all of these types of things with within a board game so that your character can play the collectible card game. It's a really fascinating combination of theme and mechanic, and it has very much the art style that you see in a lot of anime and manga. So it's just an interesting kind of collision of worlds, and I think it's done very, very well, on top of the fact that you've got a bunch of expansions and all sorts of different stuff like that. Millennium Blades, my number one. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video on my top 5 favorite anime and manga-based board games. Like I mentioned, I know I have kind of a basic taste when it comes to the animes and things that I watch, but at the same time, I love the fact that there is so much material available to make these very intricate, highly complex board games. And the fact is that there are some that are wonderfully, wonderfully well done. But again, as with any IP group or series or whatever it is, there is a lot of junk out there as well. So with that, please let me know what your personal favorites are. What are your favorite animes or mangas, and what are your favorite board games that are based off of them? Let me know it all in the comments below, because you know I'd love to hear it. That said, if you haven't done so already, please take a look at my various social media pages where you can interact with myself and my channel in a bunch of really cool ways. In addition, if you are still in quarantine, please stay safe, please stay inside. Hopefully we will be out of this relatively soon, but we really have no idea. That said, thank you very much again for watching. Hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.